Well, it is time for the last video of week 4, and it is going to be a good conclusion, a conclusion for those of you that like to think, like to listen. This is a thinking topic and a decision-making topic because as of late, the NFL has, I believe, agreed to expand their playoff and the season, and the MLB has withheld that decision for the shortened 2020 season, but we have no idea whether or not they'll come back with it in 2021. But let's start with the NFL playoff expansion, which has already happened. Dating back to 2000, there was a study or like a statistical thing done showing all the teams that would have made the playoffs with the new NFL playoff allowing that third sort of wild card team in. And so since 2000, if that playoff had been in format, of the teams that didn't make it, that would make it, 10 of the 40 teams went 8-8. 21 of the 40 teams went 9-7. 7 of the 40 teams went 10-6. 1 of the 40 teams went 11-5. Now, 1 out of 40, that's the miracle. That means you expect that. That happens once in 20 seasons. It happened. A team that probably should have made the playoffs didn't get in the playoffs, and that team was the Patriots. Was it the 2007 or 2008? Yeah, 2008 Patriots, where Brady was injured and Matt Schwab, I believe, came in as quarterback, won 10 games, and they finished 11-5. So when you look at that, now the new playoff, the number 2 seed loses their bye week to now play one of these teams that's 8-8, 9-7. You have a 31 out of 40 chance that they're 8-8 or 9-7, and it's not fair. I mean, there's a playoff for a reason. The regular season is to prove, okay, who's the best, who's not the best. You have 16 games to do it, and frankly, if you lose 7 of them, just about 50% of them, do you really deserve to be in the playoff? And if you do, or if you do make it, then there was probably reasons in your division. But if you lose your division games and go 9-7, well, then you probably don't deserve to be in the playoff. So I think it's not fair to that 2 seed that probably went 12-4, 13-3, now loses their bye week, has to play another game in which players could get injured, players could get fatigued, exhausted. Injury is probably the biggest one. But even losing that precious bye week, allowing the players to recoup, is costly. And so I think now, looking at the new playoff, you just put another team that might be hot, on a hot streak towards the end, allowing them to knock off some of the better teams that may have already beaten them or have kind of shown, okay, they're a pretty good team, but sometimes you lose you underestimate, I should say, your opponent, overthinking or thinking that, okay, yeah, we're just gonna beat these guys. If a team wins their last 6, kind of swoops into the playoffs at 9-7, and now they're facing a 13-3, 12-4 team. Another thing you do, which I'm not fond of, is increase the chance for an upset. And people say, well, if then that team didn't deserve to win. Well, the team went 13-3 or 12-4, whatever. They showed 12 to 13 times that they deserved to be that 2 seed. And whether or not they deserve their bye, an injury could cost them the loss. But also, you just have a bad game. You already played 16. Who's to say that 17 isn't the bad game to that really hot team. So when you're hot, you're hot. When you're not, you're not. And anything can happen on any given Sunday. So I'm not. There's why I'm not fond of it in the NFL. I think the same thing happens in the MLB, but I think the biggest problem in the MLB is, you play 162 games. Now, I would say you play 162 games, and I think you've determined which teams are playoff worthy, which teams aren't. You play your teams in your division, I think 19 times or whatever. So you play that many. You play the National League. You do play a little bit of American League play. And you have 162 games. Nobody wants to see an 80-win team in the playoff. It's just not fair. They don't deserve to be there. Sometimes you get your low 90s teams in. That's fine. But how many of those teams do you really want in the playoffs? Because just recently, the Nationals won. They weren't the best team, but they got hot in the second half. And then not only did they get hot in the second half, but they rode that momentum into the playoffs, winning the championship. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. But how many of those teams do you want to put in like that, knocking off, say, the team that won 104 games or, whatever? And so it's not fair when you look at it like that, to those teams that won how many games, because then it's like, well, what's the point? We could have taken 20 games off once we won 88. We were just taking 20 games off, we'll win a few, get to 94 wins. So, it's like, what's the benefit of the regular season? What's the point of the regular season? And the point of the regular season is to eliminate the league, not half the league. The NFL is moving, they're now closer to half. The NBA has been over half. They have 16 out of 30. And now the MLB is looking to push it, I think, from 10 to 14. I think it was 10 to 14, which would be 14 out of 30. Again, close to half. That's not the point. You play 162 games, you eliminate, at least 60%, if not 70. 10 out of 30. Well, that's only, 70%. That's at least reasonable. The MLB playoff, it used to be, 2 divisions. You win your division, you're in. Championship Series, World Series. You're boom. So, and yeah, if one team won 104 and the next team won 98, well, sucks to suck on the 98 team. But the regular season games, they have to mean something. They have to be worth something. Because when you take away the worth of the value of something, people play worse. It's like, what does it matter? Take a look, the Pro Bowl and All-Star games and the NBA All-Star game, it's really never had a purpose. And, as you get to the point where it's less and less about competitiveness, back in the days it was, you want to win, your conference is better. But, nowadays when you're not necessarily playing the game because you love the game, you're playing it because you can make money off the game. There's less motivation in that factor to go out there and win that game. You look at the All-Star game in the MLB, it used to be, winner of the team gets the World Series. So there was a reason to play. There was a reason to play hard. There was a reason for the managers to still play hard strategy. It's getting worse. You look at the Pro Bowl in the 80s, 90s, 70s, 80s, 90s, or whenever it started. Back in the day, going to the Pro Bowl, meant something. And then playing in the Pro Bowl also meant something. That's why they had it after the Super Bowl. The best of the best played, and it meant something. Nowadays, in NBA and football, there's no defense. Nobody's playing. So if that's what we want regular season games to start looking like, because they don't mean anything, because, guess what? You could win 50% of your games and make it into the playoffs. That's where I'm not a fan of it. So let me know what your opinion is. I'm for letting less teams in. I think eliminating about 70% of the teams from the regular season, I think that's fair. I think the NBA playoff has been too long, and I think when you look at the NBA playoff, especially since it's best of 7, best of 7, best of 7, best of 7, I think the teams that win more games in the regular season, they might be more exhausted. Injuries can take a toll. And even looking at teams where they're younger, and it's like, oh my God, we beat this team, and then you keep going, oh, we beat this team, but it's like how many? And then it's like each time you're celebrating such a huge victory, but at a certain point you just get exhausted, and the veteran team usually wins it out, which was more the case back in the day. Nowadays, we just have super teams. But that's my take on playoff expansions. I'm not for it. I'm for less teams in the playoffs. And people say, oh yeah, I want my team in the playoff. Okay, but what about when your team does good, and then some poop team comes in, and you don't have your bye week anymore, and oh well, you just got knocked out because this team has won 7 of their last 9, and they came in 9-7, and they beat you. So it's just things like that, and I'm not for it. It increases fluke chances. It increases chance for injury, for fatigue, and it just adds to the exhaustion, and it decreases the value of the regular season games. That's another big thing. So overall, that's my opinion. Let me know what your take is. If you have any comments or you care to speak on the topic, please feel free to leave a comment, and I would love to get back to it if you leave a good one. So thank you for this week. And next week is going to be another good week. We're hoping to do NFC North draft analysis, some more of my all-time team, and if there's any current hot topics, I would like to cover those too. Or if any of you leave comments on any of my videos, I'd like to answer or respond to some of those. So thank you for watching week 4, and thank you for your support, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.